I think Tottenham are very similar to United, and I think that, I saw versus Brentford Ange Ball. I think Tottenham still need another transfer window until you can fully judge Ange in his third season. But I do think, despite you being like United with not the most points, I definitely see progress from this year to last year in Tottenham. And I believe Tottenham are on the right track. It's just you've got to be patient as well. So I'm going to be answering a couple of questions that Chris has sent in to me. Firstly, what have you made of the United season? And do you know what? So far, we're only 5 games into the season. It's a small sample size. Not looking best points-wise. 7 points. I'd have liked to get at least 3 points versus Crystal Palace, and then we'd be on 9 points and just feel a lot more positive. Bar the Liverpool game, it hasn't been too bad. Win versus Fulham, tough team to beat. Brighton game, we lost, but we actually probably did enough to win that game. We just, I think, scored 3 offside goals or something. It just wasn't our day. Southampton was a great game. Liverpool was appalling. And Palace, we should have been 2-3 up at half-time. And I actually think we're playing better football this year. Still not good enough, but we're playing better football this year. We're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think it will balance itself out. So even though we're not getting the points now, I think we will get the points. So I'm not too worried. If I was to describe the job that Ten Hag's done, 2 trophies in 2 years, brought through Mano, brought through Garnacho, brought through a lot of academy players and youth. I like that. Last season was appalling. Last season was not good enough. I know that basically every player was injured. And I know that, players like Casemiro and Eriksen, if you want to play intense football, they don't quite have the legs for that. Eriksen's brilliant on the ball, but sometimes off the ball he struggles. And, we were conceding 20+ shots a game last season. So off the ball was United's biggest struggles. I think this is make or break for Ten Hag this season. I think he needs to show something this season, and if he doesn't, he'll need to go. But I do know that the Man United job's incredibly difficult because you've got the media against you, having to work with the Glazers. But now Ineos are in, and things are different. I need to see a difference from Ten Hag. My realistic aims for United this season is 5th place and probably, got to get to at least Europa League semi-final. Ideally win it, but you just never know with those cup competitions. But at least a semi-final, and nothing like crashing out of the group or league this year. In terms of my thoughts on Tottenham this season so far, style of play and thoughts on Ange. Again, I think Tottenham are in a really similar position to United, despite this being Ange's 2nd season and Ten Hag's 3rd season. So I think you can make more excuses for Ange. But I look at Tottenham and I think, you didn't get the points versus Leicester and you didn't get the points versus Newcastle. But I think Ange coached a win in both of those games. Like I think that Ten Hag coached a win versus Brighton and Crystal Palace, that we got lost in the draw and like you got lost in the draw. And I think there's a lot of similarities between Tottenham and United this season, where Tottenham are having a lot more of the ball. They're playing better football, but they're not quite putting the ball in the back of the net, or they're just lacking that thing. And I see that with Manchester United as well. Like, I think that Tottenham will have a good season. I think I predict you to come 4th. Obviously, things can depend on injuries, but I think, you've got a very good back four, Udogie, Porro, Van der Ven, Romero. I think your midfield, like Benteke, Maddison, Kulu together seems to work all right. It's just, I think, how informal your attack be. Will Solanke start bagging? Brendan Johnson, 2 goals in a row. I think Tottenham are very similar to United, and I think that, I saw versus Brentford Ange Ball. I think Tottenham still need another transfer window until you can fully judge Ange in his 3rd season. But I do think, despite you being like United with not the most points, I definitely see progress from this year to last year in Tottenham. And I believe Tottenham are on the right track. It's just you've got to be patient as well. Continuing on, what did I think of the last 2 meetings last season? Not good enough from United. I think Tottenham were the better team in both of those meetings as well. So hopefully this year United respond, if I'm going to be honest. Your favourite memory of this fixture? That's a difficult one, That is a difficult one. I liked the Ronaldo hat-trick. I remember, I think Ronaldo played Tottenham when I was really young, and we came from behind. I remember him taking his top off. Anything involving Ronaldo, probably my favourite memory as a United fan. But I'm going to say that game in 2008 when Ronaldo scored, he took his shirt off in celebration. I think That was 2008, and it was 5-2. That was a proper throwback game for me. Which Man United players should we look out for, and which players do you think at the moment would get into the Tottenham team? That's a really good question. I think Man United players to look out for. I think Managerial has been really impressive. I think Xerxes and De Ligt have been really impressive. I think all the new signings have been really impressive, which is good because Mount, Onana and Højlund didn't hit the ground running last year. I mean, Højlund did in the Champions League, and he was starved of service, to be fair to him. So I think player to watch out for. It's a difficult one because we have a lot of confidence players. Rashford is such a confidence player. If he's confident, he's like 30 goals a season. If he's not confident, he's not great. I think Xerxes could cause problems. I think we saw in the last game versus Palace, as soon as Xerxes came off, our creativity dried up. So I think Xerxes can cause problems. I think Ten Hag's finally admitted that Ahmad is better than Anthony, so maybe Ahmad would cause problems. But yeah, if you're thinking underrated, I would say Mashrawi's been really, really impressive as well. Which Spurs players do you fear? I know you feature Spurs a lot on your channel. Do you think fans have been harsh on Ange as of late? I can understand frustration with Ange. I think there's times where he can be naive to change it. He likes to stick with things that maybe aren't working. But I think he's had a lot of money spent on him, and I can understand why Spurs fans want to see a bit more. Particularly because I think your record against like the top 10 teams is pretty atrocious. So I can understand criticism of Ange, but I don't think there's enough rationale to beat Ange out when you understand that this is a long-term project. I think Ange signed a 4-year contract at Tottenham. He's got a very young squad. He's a completely different style of play to Conte. You know, Arteta came 8th, 5th, and then the title race. You know, I think that Ange should be given this season, and I think next season is when you should judge him. So I think, considering that Tottenham have improved, considering little tactical tweaks like Maddison sort of going out a bit wider and Son coming in more in the last game, I think Decky, I think he's a very good player, but I think he's not a winger in Ange's system, so Ange is moving up central. I think that I see progress in Ange, and I can see like what he's doing like with Maddison and Decky. I think that works. I think Maddison's had a good start to the season. I think Son sometimes coming in a bit and Maddison going out wide, a few tactical tweaks of sin. In terms of Tottenham players I'm scared of, I think Kulu could cause us the most issues. I think he's the one that I think is probably your best player this season in terms of just his ability to make something happen. Other players, you know, Solanke, he'll be hungry for sure. Son, you know, is Son, he always scores. Brennan Johnson's got a bit of confidence last 2 games. I think, you know, your defence is difficult to beat as well, Romero, but I'd probably say I think Kulu and Maddison is sort of in those advanced roles, particularly because Man United's issues come from defending in midfield, I think will cause us the most problems. How would you describe Man United's transfer window? Yeah, I think this is Man United's best transfer window in a very long time. I'm very happy myself with Manchester United's transfer window. Agate, Yoro, De Ligt, Manjraoui, Xerxes. I really like Xerxes. He's not going to be a 20-goal season striker. He's not that kind of player. But he's like Mateus Cunha. He's like a João Pedro. He's a guy that will allow the team to score 20 goals more a season because of just his influence on play. And we're seeing that. Manjraoui we got for less than we sold Wan-Bissaka for. So we've made profit almost. I think he's been really good. Technical levels on the ball have gone up. De Ligt has looked really good. Even when we lost 3-0 to Liverpool, De Ligt had a good game, and he's just a good box defender. Every corner he's a threat, which could cause Tottenham problems because I know you guys aren't the best at corners. So I've been happy with all the new signings. Not so much of Agate, and Yoro's been injured, but I think it was probably the perfect window for United. I would have liked to at least stay on the wing, but I think with Ahmad being good, it's not the end of the world. What sort of game am I expecting? I think it's a difficult one to predict with Man United and Tottenham because I feel like we're similar in weird ways. We've got a youthful squad. We've got a manager that shows elements of what he can do, but then fans are questioning it and not changing the philosophy. And then sometimes we're really good and sometimes we're really bad. And I think United and Tottenham have been similar because I watch United and we'll have like 45 minutes where we play unbelievable football and the 45 minutes were a bit meh, or like a 30-minute spell where we're not great, but then 60 minutes of playing well. And I feel like Tottenham have been like that. 60 minutes versus Leicester, brilliant. It fizzled out a bit. You know, Man United played really good for 60 minutes versus Crystal Palace. It fizzled out a bit. I think we're in such a similar place in terms of we'll play well for a bit. We can show what we can do for a bit, but we're not converting our chances or doing enough. But we probably did enough to beat Brighton and you probably did enough to beat Newcastle, but none of us could put the ball in the back of the net. I think we're so similar in a weird way. So I think it's difficult to predict because it's what Tottenham side will show up, what Man United side will show up. I'm going to say 2-2. Man United do look better defensively. Tottenham have looked better on the ball. I'm going to say 2-2, but who knows with United. That's my prediction. In terms of my predicted lineup for United, Nana in goal, Delo left back, Managerial right back, De Ligt and Martinez centre back. It'd be difficult because I'd like Agarthe to play, but I don't think he will. He's been going with Maino, Eriksson, Bruno. But I think Eriksson is really good on the ball and he does some beautiful stuff. But I think sometimes off the ball, he doesn't have the legs for the intensity of Ange ball. So I'd probably change Eriksson out. I think Xerxes will start up top with, I think, Rashford on the left. And I reckon he's going to play Garnacho on the right, but I'd play Ahmad.
Thank you.